It's Tiffany here off camera, and we're here with Stacie Brimage.
Hey.
And she's a friend of mine, and she is also an avid travel lover. And wanted to interview her on her trips because she takes such interesting trips that are not the usual. And I want to, I guess, talk about your last trip to Israel.
Yeah.
And how did you decide on going there? Because it's not like the norm.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So I traveled with a friend of mine from college, and I wanted to go in February, so that was a piece of it. So I wanted to go. I had some friends that mentioned going on a trip to Puerto Rico in February, and I was like, oh my god, like, great idea to leave Worcester, like, get out of the cold and be gone for like a little bit of time in the winter.
Right.
So that ended up, so that was like our time frame, was like that President's Week. And my next trip that I really wanted was Croatia, but it's the off season and I wanted to go there for the waterfalls and summer pretty much, so it was like not a good time to go. And then we looked into Asia, I think even as far as Australia, Sri Lanka, and pretty much what dictated the the choice was the plane ticket, the price of the plane ticket, and that it was like, spring or like sort of warmer weather.
Right.
But yeah, I forget what the price was, but it was really cheap. The plane ticket was like super cheap. So I was just up. It did take a lot of back and forth because I forget. I remember like checking the news and different things in terms of like safety and like going to the State Department website. But ultimately deciding that it was going to be okay and doing it and going for 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Wow. Okay. So did you need anything special to go? Anything extra other than your passport?
No, we didn't. I just remember getting there. It was the first time. It kind of like was funny when I like got to. It was in Tel Aviv when we came into customs in Tel Aviv, and they asked, "Have you ever been to the Middle East before?" And I was like, "Oh shoot, I'm in the Middle East right now." Like, no, I haven't. And like, obviously, duh, I knew, but like after a long plane ride, it was like, oh shoot, like
Yeah.
I'm in the Middle East. And then they asked me my religion. So in any other trip no one's ever asked me my religion.
Right.
So that was it. That was interesting. But no, I didn't need a special visa. Nothing.
Okay.
Well, they gave me the visa when I was there, but I didn't have to do anything ahead of time.
Okay. Cool.
So they just like, they asked the like details of the trip, where we were going, why we were going. So we had to like outline everything. And then they gave us our visa.
And you don't remember how much it cost around about?
I don't know. I want to say like 400 total or something.
Wow. Okay.
I should look it up. I could look it up.
Okay. Yeah, that's super cheap for going all the way over there. How long was the flight?
It was like, I think it was like, I know it's 10 hours from the U.S. to Istanbul. And then, so like 12 hours, because then it's 2 hours from Istanbul to Israel.
Okay. So where did you end up staying?
So first came into Tel Aviv in the airport, and then we didn't stay at all. We just ended up getting a taxi to Jerusalem. And we met this woman, because the taxis were kind of, well, one, they had like large like shuttle taxis, but they were like super slow and like, I don't know, it was kind of like like they didn't really care how long they took, and like their customer service was not on point. And like we got there and like someone else was like waiting for a while, and she's like, I still don't really know what's going on. I was like, okay. So then this woman, she lived in Britain but like was from Jerusalem. She was visiting. So she was like, oh, do you guys want to just split a taxi with me? It'll be like about the same price or cheaper, and we'll be faster. So then we decided to, but the taxi drivers got really upset and like started yelling at her in Hebrew and saying like, you're taking our business away, all this stuff, and they got like pretty aggressive.
Oh, wow.
So we just kind of like went back into the airport, went up a flight and left, but like she kind of seemed like scared and was like, I might have to leave you guys, like, because they were like threatening to get the police, all of these things, and I was like, fine, like, do whatever you need to do. But like it was definitely like a weird like touching down moment because it was just like instant drama.
Yeah.
And we just met this woman, and it was like, and she was like fighting with the taxi drivers, but ultimately once we got in our own taxi, she like talked to him and he was like, oh yeah, they're just being a-holes. And like we ended up going and getting to Jerusalem, and we stayed in the Muslim, or I guess like Arab quarters of Jerusalem. We stayed in this Arab hotel that was like pretty basic, but the breakfast was delicious. It was really, really good. The food there was just like amazing.
Okay. So how much was like the hotel?
Oh, I don't know, no idea. We split everything. I don't know. It couldn't have been definitely not more than $100.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what was your first impression of Jerusalem?
Oh, it's an old city.
Yeah.
Like, it's incredible. Like, once you get into the old city, even like the city itself is cool. I mean, everyone was like, I just remember especially where we were, like people were like super attractive and like well dressed, and like they like smelled of cologne and perfume. And you get into, so the old city is just like sectioned off. It's huge, like you could walk miles in it, but it's like maybe 4 or 6 entrances, but essentially you could think of it as like corners, and they call them like gates. So when you get in there, it's like, oh, not even cobblestone, just like, I don't, like sandstone or something, like a really smooth stone that like just lines the streets. And like there's stairs, there's all these just like entryways or like staircases going different places, old churches, and like lots of people, all these stalls all around, and like so much to explore. And it was interesting going to the I guess they call it like the Wailing Wall, where people they'll like put little prayers or into the wall, and it sections out from like men and women, and of course like sadly the women's section is like way tinier, and that was like, that just like kind of opens up in the middle, and it's really, really like vibrant. Like lots of people are always moving around, their bar mitzvahs, there's like all these celebrations, and it's like really fun.
So you mentioned like the smaller section for women. Did you have a difficult time being a woman over there?
No, not really. No. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like, other than like, I guess some of the what are they called? They're like caves, tombs. Like we go and visit all these tombs of either famous Christian or Jewish people, and they would always have like separate spaces for men and women. But otherwise, no, because we always shared a room, and there wasn't ever really any issues, and I didn't have to even like wear dresses in certain places or dress a certain way.
Okay.
Other than I guess being like covered. But that, yeah, I don't know if that was like my preference or not.
Well, I know before you mentioned, it was some kind of term for like being overwhelmed once you're there.
Oh yes, Jerusalem syndrome.
Right. Yeah. What is that?
So you know, it's like there's so like such rich history, and like a place where like all these religions like exist, and so many things that you can go and see, and that, that relate to Christian religion, Judaism, and all the religions, Islam too. So I don't know. It just there's so many. There's a Church of the Sepulchre. There's the Weeping Wall. There's all these things that are really big. Then the where did we go? The Dome of the Rock, which was a Muslim mosque that people went to that was sacred, and all these areas that are sacred, where Jesus was born in Bethlehem, and all these places. So apparently there's this syndrome, and there's all these tours going on everywhere, people, there are so many different people from all over the world. When I was in Bethlehem at the church where Jesus was born, the Nativity, there were Filipinos that were visiting too, and it was awesome. So we were touring with them, but also there in that church, you could go to, I think it was literally the place where he was born, and take a scarf or just kiss the rock, or people had, it was oiled, so people would take their scarves and bless their scarves and go on. So you waited in line. It's kind of like an amusement park. You wait in line to get down to this point, and then it's an active church. Then you have to exit a certain way, but you're not really supposed to be very disruptive because there's services and things going on. But there was a woman who's, I think she's American because she had an American accent. So she was leaving out from, where you go and can be where Jesus was born. And she just started singing a gospel song. She started singing a hymn or something. And she was with her husband, and she was with her guide. And the guide was like, she's and her husband was like, honey, come on, honey. And she just kept singing, and she had a really good voice. So then the priest or whoever was there, they came up to her and were you gotta shut this down, you gotta be quiet. They escorted off, and then she goes, Jesus is really upset with you. It's what the heck? And Chris and I are waiting in line. We were actually with a group of Egyptian Americans. So they were from New York, but they were, they were originally from Egypt and then emigrated to New York. So they're talking, and all I hear him say is Jerusalem syndrome. And I was yes! That's so true. But yeah, people get really overwhelmed and can be taken just by the sacredness of the whole place, the whole country.